Welcome to The Pines Remember, a full-length folk horror thriller, an atmospheric journey into grief, memory, and the old hungers that wait beneath forgotten mountain towns. Narrated by Christopher Vale, this is a story for the quiet hours, when the house has settled, the road outside is empty, and every creak in the walls begins to sound like something trying to get in.
By the time Mara Ellison understood that the trees had moved, it was too late to leave Briar Glen. Her first mistake had been believing grief made every place look haunted. The town appeared from the mountain fog like something painted on old glass. White church steeple. Red brick county office. A general store with a Coca-Cola sign bleached nearly pink by decades of sun. Weathered porches leaned over narrow sidewalks, their rocking chairs still despite the faint morning breeze. Mara drove slowly, both hands on the wheel, watching the fog unspool between the ridges. She had left New York 3 days earlier with 2 suitcases, 1 laptop, 4 unfinished manuscripts, and an urn she could not bring herself to unpack. Daniel had been dead for 91 days. That number lived inside her now. It came with her into grocery stores, onto elevators, into bed at night. 91 mornings without his hand reaching across the sheets. 91 evenings without his voice calling from the kitchen, asking if she wanted wine and tea, or one of his terrible grilled cheese sandwiches. Best-selling true crime author Mara Ellison had written about serial killers, corrupted detectives, buried children, and the patient cruelty of ordinary people. Readers praised her clarity. Critics called her fearless. Nobody had warned her that fear had nothing to do with losing the person who knew the shape of your silence. A sign stood at the edge of town, hand-painted in green and white. Welcome to Briar Glen. Founded 1768. God keeps the valley. Mara eased past it and felt, absurdly, as if she had crossed a threshold. At the general store, she stopped to ask for directions. A bell over the door gave a tired jangle when she stepped inside. 3 men near the counter stopped speaking at once, their mouths closing like shutters. The clerk, a narrow woman with silver hair braided down her back, looked Mara over.
"You're the writer,"
she said. Mara paused with her hand still on the door.
"I suppose I am."
A fly crawled along the inside of the front window. Somewhere in the back, a cooler hummed.
"Cabins past the old service road."
The clerk said.
7 miles out. Last 2 are gravel. Maybe mud if the creek's up. Thank you.
Mara tried to smile.
"Do you have a map?"
The woman's expression did not change.
"Road's simple enough. Still, I'd like one if you have it."
A silence spread through the store. The 3 men suddenly became fascinated by the floorboards.
"We don't sell trail maps anymore,"
the clerk said. Mara felt a small twist of irritation, a welcome thing because irritation was easier than sorrow.
"I asked for a road map. Same paper, different trouble."
Before Mara could answer, the bell rang again. A man in a pressed gray suit entered with the relaxed confidence of someone who had never needed to knock in his life. He was tall, late 60s maybe, with white hair combed neatly back and a face that belonged on a courthouse wall. His smile was warm enough to seem practiced, though his eyes stayed cool and bright.
"Miss Ellison,"
he said.
"Or do you prefer Mara?"
She turned.
"Mara is fine."
"Silas Crow, Mayor of Briar Glen."
He took her hand in both of his grip dry and gentle.
"We are honored to host a writer of your reputation."
"Thank you. I'm just here to work quietly."
"Quiet,"
Silas said, savoring the word.
"We have plenty of that."
The clerk lowered her eyes. Silas released Mara's hand, then stepped toward the door and gestured outside.
I'll point you toward the cabin myself.
Mara followed him onto the sidewalk. Across the street, a woman sweeping her porch stopped mid-motion and watched them. A boy on a bicycle rolled by, stared at Mara, then pedaled faster when Silas looked his way. The mayor seemed not to notice.
That cabin belonged to the Hadley family once.
Silas said.
Good people. Hard people. The mountains make that kind.
I rented it through an agency.
Of course. Folks come and go.
His smile thinned.
Though not many stay long.
A church bell rang once, though Mara saw no one near the church. Silas pointed toward a road that slipped between two slopes heavy with pine.
Take Hollow Creek Road until the pavement ends. Keep left at the rusted mailbox. When you see the split rail fence, you're almost there.
Sounds manageable.
Don't hike past the marked trails.
The sudden seriousness in his voice made her look at him.
Excuse me?
Woods are older than common sense.
Silas said softly.
A person can lose direction out there. Lose time, too, if she isn't careful.
Mara almost laughed, but the three men inside the store were watching through the glass.
I'm not much of a hiker,
she said.
That may serve you better than curiosity.
His tone remained pleasant. The warning beneath it did not. Mara got back into her SUV, feeling the faint embarrassment that comes after being handled too carefully. She had lived in New York. She had interviewed murderers behind reinforced glass. She refused to be spooked by a mayor with theatrical manners and a town that disliked strangers. Yet as she drove beyond Briar Glen, the road narrowed into a corridor of trees. The pines rose taller with every mile. Their trunks stood close together, black and straight, disappearing into a gray-green ceiling. Fog remained tucked low over the ditches, shining pale where the sun touched it. Pavement gave way to gravel. Gravel became rutted dirt. Her tires hissed through muddy patches, and branches tapped softly against the windows. At last, the cabin appeared. It sat in a small clearing at the end of the road, built from dark pine logs with a stone chimney and a sagging porch. Behind it, the forest pressed close enough that the branches almost brushed the roof. A narrow strip of yard separated the back wall from the first line of trees. Mara cut the engine. The silence that followed felt deliberate. Inside, the cabin smelled of dust, cold ashes, and old wood. One main room held a couch, a scarred writing desk, a brick fireplace, and a kitchen barely wide enough for one person. A bedroom opened off the left side. The bathroom, mercifully modern, occupied an addition at the rear. She unpacked quickly because lingering over her suitcase meant finding Daniel's sweater folded between her jeans. Instead, she set her laptop on the desk by the front window and placed the urn on the mantel. For several minutes, she simply stared at it.
Here we are,
Mara whispered. No answer came, of course. Dusk filled the clearing. The trees darkened until they became one wall of shadow. Mara made soup from a can, ate 3 spoonfuls, then gave up. Later, she sat at the desk, opened a blank document, and typed one sentence. The dead do not leave us all at once. She read it until the words blurred, then closed the laptop. Around midnight, the tapping began. At first, Mara thought rain had started. A light tick against the outer wall. Then another. After that, 3 soft knocks near the bedroom window. She sat up on the couch, blanket clutched against her chest. No wind moved outside. No storm pressed against the glass. Tap. 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 The sound traveled along the cabin wall, slow and patient, as if fingers were testing each log. Mara went to the window. Her reflection stared back at her, hollow-eyed, older than she remembered. Beyond the glass, the yard lay silver under the moon. The tree line seemed wrong. At sunset, she could have sworn the nearest pines stood 20 feet from the back wall. Now their branches hovered near the cabin, needled tips nearly touching the eaves. Mara shut the curtains and told herself exhaustion had changed the distance. Behind her, the tapping resumed. Morning made the night feel foolish. Sunlight came thin and gold through the curtains. Birds called from the trees. Coffee boiled in the dented kettle, and Mara managed to eat toast while standing at the sink. The forest looked ordinary enough through the window. Dense, yes. Too close, perhaps. Still only a forest. She built a routine because routine was what grief had not destroyed yet. Coffee at dawn. Writing by the window until noon. A walk no farther than the gravel driveway. Lunch if she remembered. Reading in the afternoon. Bed when staying awake became pointless. By the fourth day, words returned. They came grudgingly at first, a sentence here, an image there. Mara wrote about a missing girl in a coal town, a detective who lied too easily, a mother who heard her daughter humming beneath the floor. None of it was good, exactly, but it was language. Language meant she had not been emptied completely. The cabin, however, seemed to resist being merely shelter. Floorboards creaked when she crossed rooms she had not entered. Ash appeared in the fireplace each morning, though she had not lit a fire. Once, while showering, she heard her laptop keys clicking in the other room. Wrapped in a towel, dripping water across the floor, she found the screen dark and untouched. On the sixth afternoon, Mara decided to clean. Dust made her sneeze. Clutter made her feel watched. Beneath the bed lay an old braided rug, rolled halfway under the frame as if someone had kicked it there in haste. She dragged it out and uncovered a floorboard with a crescent-shaped notch near one end. Mara crouched. The plank lifted with surprising ease. Underneath, wrapped in cracked oilcloth, was a bundle of notebooks tied with twine. Their covers had swollen from damp. Some pages were stuck together, and others crumbled at the corners when she touched them. The handwriting inside was frantic, slanted, difficult to read. Mara turned pages carefully. June 3rd. They call it the Offering Road. Another page. Clean sorrow. That is what it wants. Not blood first. Never blood first. Farther in, written so hard the pen had torn the paper. What the roots take, the body forgets to miss. A chill moved across Mara's shoulders. The notebooks had different hands. One belonged to someone named Paul. Another, maybe Anna. The dates ranged across decades. 1974. 1989. 2006. Each writer described confusion, missing time, dreams of voices in the woods. Several pages mentioned a place called the Root Chapel. Mara photographed what she could before tucking the bundle into the drawer of her nightstand. She told herself it was local folklore. Perhaps old renters had scared themselves and passed the joke along, each leaving a contribution. Writers, especially blocked ones, had been known to mistake coincidence for fate. Still, she drove into town the next morning. At the diner, conversation died as soon as she entered. Forks paused above plates. The woman behind the counter wiped the same clean spot until it shone. Mara ordered eggs and coffee, then sat in a booth by the window. 2 tables away, an old man muttered. Cabins occupied again. His companion kicked him under the table. Mara looked over. Did you say something? Both men stared at their plates. The waitress refilled Mara's coffee without meeting her eyes. "Do you know anything about the Hadley cabin?" Mara asked. The waitress's hand tightened around the pot.
Folks rent it.
I found some old notebooks there.
Coffee spilled into the saucer.
You shouldn't dig under what ain't yours.
Across the diner, someone whispered a prayer. Mara left money on the table and went to the general store. The silver-haired clerk stood behind the counter, reading a magazine without turning pages.
I need a trail map.
Mara said.
No.
The answer came too fast.
Why not? Because paper gets people brave. That's ridiculous. So are graves without names.
Mara leaned closer.
What is wrong with this town?
The clerk finally looked up. Her eyes were wet, though her face remained blank.
Go home if you still know where that is.
Outside, Mayor Crow stood beside Mara's SUV.
Everything all right?
He asked. She hated that he sounded genuinely concerned. People here don't like questions. Questions have weight in small towns. They're just words. Silas studied her for a moment. Words brought you here, didn't they? Mara opened the driver's door. I'm leaving in a week. Then rest. He said. Let the valley do what it does. His smile returned, polished and patient. That night, the tapping came again. Tap. Pause. Tap, tap. Mara did not move from bed. The rhythm traveled from wall to wall, then beneath the floor. In the dark, the cabin sounded full of hands. At 3:17 a.m., she woke on the porch. Cold boards pressed against her cheek. Fog drifted through the clearing. Her breath came fast, white in the air. Mara sat up. She was fully dressed. Jeans. Sweater. Jacket zipped to her throat. Her boots were caked in black mud. Sticky amber sap smeared both palms, thick as honey and smelling sharply of pine resin and something sweetly rotten underneath. She stumbled inside and locked the door. No memory came. The last thing she remembered was lying in bed, staring at the ceiling, listening to the tapping fade. Sleepwalking, she thought. People did stranger things under stress. Grief rearranged the brain. Trauma fractured routines. Reason comforted her until she found the mud on the stairs. It formed two clear lines of boot prints leading from the porch to the edge of the trees. No returning tracks marked the path. Mara scrubbed her hands until the skin reddened. The sap resisted soap, clinging beneath her nails. When she finally got most of it off, a faint gold stain remained in the creases of her palms. After that, time began to slip. An hour disappeared while she stood at the sink. She came back to herself with the tap running, water overflowing a mug, her reflection in the dark window smiling though she was not. 2 days later, an entire afternoon vanished. Mara remembered making lunch. The next moment, dusk filled the cabin and her laptop screen glowed with pages she had no memory of typing. Roots breathe under the floor. A husband calls from beneath the pines. Grief is a door, and the forest knows the latch. She backed away from the desk, knocking over the chair.
Stop,
she said to the empty room. The word sounded small. Her phone lay on the counter. Mara grabbed it and called her sister, Elaine. The call failed. No service. She moved around the cabin, holding the phone up near windows, then outside on the porch. Nothing. At the far end of the driveway, one weak bar appeared, trembled, and vanished. Mara tried again later from town. The diner phone had been Out all morning. The general store claimed theirs was private. At the county office, a clerk said the mayor was unavailable and no, she could not place a long-distance call. By then, worse changes had begun. Daniel's death no longer crushed her when she woke. At first, relief flooded in. She breathed before remembering to hurt. Breakfast tasted like food again. Sunlight did not feel insulting. She wrote 3 pages without crying once. Then horror followed. The ache was not healing. It was thinning. One morning, Mara tried to picture Daniel's smile and saw only the idea of it. A familiar curve, no detail. She searched for the tiny chip in his front tooth, the left dimple that appeared when he teased her, the way his eyebrows lifted before he laughed. Nothing sharpened. She opened her phone and found a photograph, Daniel on their fire escape in Brooklyn, holding 2 mugs and squinting into winter light. The image should have pulled her apart. Instead, her mind slid over his face as if it belonged to an actor she had once admired. Mara dropped the phone.
No.
She whispered.
No, no.
Later, she tried to remember his laugh. A laugh is not a photograph. It cannot be checked against a screen. Memory must carry its music alone. Mara sat on the kitchen floor until dark, pressing her fists against her temples, pleading with herself. High and quick? Low? Did he snort when something truly surprised him? Had he ever thrown his head back? The answers would not come. In panic, she dialed Elaine again. Her thumb hovered over the keypad. She could not remember her sister's number. Mara stared at the phone until the digits blurred. That was when she opened the notebooks again. One entry mentioned Warren Pike on Hollow Creek. Archivist. Knows too much. Windows covered. Still remembers his mother's song. The next morning, Mara drove to Hollow Creek Road. Warren Pike's farmhouse sagged behind a field gone wild with briars. Newspapers covered every window from the inside. 3 wind chimes hung from the porch, but they were made of iron nails instead of glass. Mara knocked. Nothing happened.
She raised her hand again, and a man's voice snapped. Name something you lost.
Mara froze.
What?
Something real. Say it.
My husband.
A pause followed.
Name?
Daniel.
How long dead?
90.
She stopped. Was it 98 now? 100?
I don't know.
Locks clicked. The door opened 3 inches. Warren Pike peered out through the gap. He was gaunt, balding, with yellowed eyes and a gray beard cut unevenly along his jaw. His flannel shirt hung loose from sharp shoulders.
You're in the Hadley cabin.
He said.
Yes.
Come in before the trees notice.
The house smelled of vinegar, dust, and old paper. Jars lined every shelf. Salt. Rusted nails. Dead pine needles sealed under wax. Bundles of dried herbs hung from ceiling beams. Stacks of newspapers filled corners like barricades. Warren shut 3 locks behind her.
You found the notebooks.
He said. Mara hugged her arms around herself.
What is happening to me?
Warren studied her face.
How much have you forgotten?
The question broke something. Mara tried to answer and began to cry instead. He looked away, as if embarrassed by emotion or frightened of it.
Sit.
Warren said.
Crying helps. Means there's still enough of you left to leak.
She sank into a chair at the kitchen table. Its surface was covered in maps, old ledgers, and Polaroids of trees marked with red string. Warren poured coffee from a pot that looked ancient enough to have survived a war.
Briar Glen isn't a town,
he said.
It's a fence.
Mara wiped her face.
Around what?
Something under the mountain.
Rain began to tap against the roof, though the sky had been clear when she arrived.
Long before highways, before power lines, before any of this got dressed up as civilization, settlers found a root system in the old-growth forest.
Warren's fingers trembled around his mug.
Folks call it fungal. That's not wrong, but it's too small. Mycelium, roots, sap, mineral, nerve. It's all tangled together. One organism, maybe. Maybe many thinking as one.
Mara shook her head.
That's impossible.
Most old truths are, until they're standing in your kitchen.
I'm a writer, Mr. Pike. I need more than mountain ghost stories.
Then listen like one.
His eyes hardened.
It doesn't start with the body. Bodies are clumsy meat. That thing beneath the pines feeds cleaner.
Mara remembered the notebook phrase and felt sick.
Clean sorrow.
Warren nodded.
Memory. Terror. Longing. Shame. Grief. Everything that makes a person carry weight in the world. The roots take those first. By the time the flesh goes underground, the person inside has already been eaten.
Mara pressed her stained palms against her knees.
Why would the town allow it?
Allow?
Warren gave a dry laugh.
They live because of it. Harvests held when other valleys starved. Sickness passed them by. Floods changed course. Babies survived winters that should have killed them.
His voice fell.
Every blessing had a mouth behind it.
A gust rattled the newspaper over the windows.
The townspeople feed outsiders to it.
Mara said.
Travelers. Drifters. Lonely folks. Grieving folks.
Warren looked at her with painful pity.
People not missed quickly.
Daniel's name rose in her mind, but his face blurred again. Mara dug her nails into her palm.
Are they evil?
Warren considered.
Some know exactly what they're doing. Silas does. His family always has.
He pointed toward town.
Most are hollow, though. Not innocent, not guilty in any clean way. Habits walking around where souls ought to be. They remember breakfast and hymns and property lines, but not why mercy matters.
Can it be stopped?
His expression changed, and in that flicker she saw why he had covered the windows. Hope frightened him more than despair.
There's a place.
Warren said.
Root Chapel. Original heart of the growth. They hid it under the old silver mine after the first ceremonies became too hard to explain.
Mara leaned forward.
Ceremonies?
Briar Glen keeps records because evil loves paperwork.
Warren stood too quickly, knocking his chair back.
County office has a historical reading room beneath it. Locked. Silas keeps the old ledgers there.
We need those records?
You need proof. I need the map. That night, they broke into the county office through a basement window Warren had loosened years before and never had the courage to use. The building smelled of mildew and floor wax. Above them, the town slept or pretended to. Warren carried a crowbar wrapped in cloth. Mara held a flashlight between her teeth while he worked the lock on the reading room door. It opened with a soft, guilty click. Inside, shelves lined the walls from floor to ceiling. Church ledgers. Settlement records. Births, deaths, marriages. Donation books written in brown ink. A framed portrait of Silas Crow's ancestor hung above a table, his stern face painted with one hand resting on a Bible. Warren went straight to a cabinet in the back. "Crows never throw away a sin," he muttered. Mara opened a church ledger from 1768. The first entries were ordinary. Crops, baptisms, fever, snow. Then the handwriting changed, becoming cramped and desperate. December 14th. 3 children gone to hunger. December 21st. Cattle frozen standing. January 3rd. Mrs. Bell heard singing beneath the hill. January 11th. We have made terms. Mara turned the page. A list of names followed, each marked beside a word. Widower, tinker, runaway, stranger, girl without kin. Her stomach tightened. Warren found a leather tube and pulled out a hand-drawn map. The paper inside had yellowed but remained intact. At its center, beneath a sketch of pines and ridges, was a black circle labeled the Chapel of Roots. Below it, in a different hand, someone had written, "The mountain remembers for us, and we remember nothing against it." Mara whispered.
The renters wrote the notebooks because they tried to resist. A few lasted longer than expected.
Warren folded the map with shaking care.
None got this far.
From upstairs came the sound of a door opening. Both of them froze. Footsteps crossed the floor above, slow and measured. Warren killed the flashlight. Through the narrow basement window, Mara saw lantern light bloom outside. One flame became 3, then 6. Figures gathered along the lawn. Silas Crow's voice drifted through the glass.
Mara.
He called gently.
Warren. Come on out now.
Warren's mouth tightened. The mayor stood beneath the window with several townspeople behind him. Shotguns rested in their hands. Lanterns lit their calm faces. No anger showed there. No hatred. Their tenderness was worse. Silas looked down as if addressing frightened children hiding under a bed.
You have both carried too much for too long,
he said.
Let us help.
Warren grabbed Mara's wrist and pulled her toward the rear stairs.
Run.
They burst from the back of the county office into cold dark. A woman shouted. A shotgun cracked, splintering brick near Mara's shoulder. Warren led her through an alley, across the churchyard, and behind the diner. The town seemed to shift around them. Porch lights blinked on. Doors opened. Faces appeared behind curtains. At the parking lot, Mara saw her SUV beneath a street lamp. All 4 tires sagged flat. The hood stood open, wires cut and dangling like veins.
Cabin.
Warren gasped.
We'll get my truck.
They ran until Mara's lungs burned. Past the store. Past the last streetlight. Into the gravel road where the trees began. Warren's truck waited near his farmhouse, but its windshield had been smashed inward. Pine needles filled the cab though the doors were shut. He cursed, a raw, terrified sound. Mara pulled out her cell phone. No signal.
Landline at the cabin,
she said.
Static by now.
We have to try.
The hike back took nearly an hour. Twice, Mara heard someone moving parallel to them in the woods. Lanterns glowed far behind, bobbing between trunks like swamp lights. At the cabin, the phone gave only a hiss. Beneath the static, a voice whispered Mara's name. She dropped the receiver. Warren unfolded the map on the table. Sweat shone on his face despite the cold.
Listen carefully. The mine entrance is here.
He tapped a ridge north of the cabin.
Old service station, then creek bed, then up through Dead Man's Cut. If you reach the chapel, fire might do it. The old accounts mention burning the outer growth once, back in 1812. It screamed for 3 days.
Might do it?
Nobody alive has tried.
Outside, the tapping began. This time it came from the ground. The cabin trembled. A floorboard lifted near the hearth. A black root pushed through, slick with sap, curling like a finger. Warren shoved the map into Mara's hands.
Go.
What about you?
His laugh came out broken.
I should have gone 40 years ago.
The front door burst inward. Roots erupted through the porch boards, thick and pale beneath the bark, moving with blind purpose. Warren grabbed a cast iron skillet from the stove and swung, smashing one aside. Another wrapped his ankle. Mara lunged for him. No! He shouted. The root yanked. Warren fell hard, claws of wood and fiber winding around his legs, waist, chest. His eyes found Mara's. Remember him, he said. Then the forest took him. His scream tore through the cabin and out into the clearing as the roots dragged him across the porch. Mara chased 3 steps before Silas appeared at the edge of the trees, lantern in hand. The mayor watched Warren vanish into the soil with sorrowful pride. He held on longer than most. Silas said. Mara ran. Branches whipped her face as she plunged down the creek bank. Mud gave way beneath her boots. She tumbled, struck her shoulder on stone, and slid into freezing water. Above, voices called softly. Mara. Come back. Let it be done. She crawled beneath a tangle of wet leaves and broken branches, pressing one hand over her mouth. Lantern light passed overhead. Roots probed the bank inches from her cheek. Hours later, dawn came gray and cold. Mara woke shivering, bruised, and alone. For one terrible moment, she could not remember why she was in the woods. A man's name hovered near the edge of thought. Daniel. She clung to it like a match in rain. Back at the cabin, silence waited. The front door hung crooked. Mud streaked the floor. Warren's blood marked one porch board in a small dark spray. Mara moved through the rooms with the calm of someone past panic. She packed a flashlight, batteries, matches, 2 kitchen knives, and the old map. From a shed behind the abandoned service station, she found a rusted hatchet, a flare gun with 3 flares, and 4 cans of gasoline. One can was half empty, but the smell of it gave her courage. Pain throbbed in her shoulder. Sap still stained her palms. Before leaving, Mara took Daniel's urn from the mantel. She almost placed it in her pack, then stopped. No. She whispered. The urn belonged to memory, not to fire. Instead, she removed the small photograph taped beneath its lid, one she had hidden there after the funeral. Daniel in Brooklyn rain, laughing under a broken umbrella. His face was blurred by motion, but the joy in him remained unmistakable. Mara folded the photo and tucked it into her jacket pocket. The forest tried to stop her before she reached the ridge. It did not attack first with roots. That would have been easier. Daniel called from between the pines. Mare. Only he had used that nickname. Soft, amused, never in front of other people. Mara stopped so abruptly the gasoline cans knocked together. Mist moved among the trunks. A figure stood ahead on the trail. Daniel wore the navy coat she had buried him in. No, not buried. Cremated. The correction came slowly, like a file pulled from a damaged cabinet. His hair curled over his forehead. His smile held the gentle apology he used whenever she worked too late and he came to coax her toward dinner.
"Sweetheart,"
he said.
"You're so tired."
Mara's knees weakened.
You're not him.
"Does that matter?"
His voice trembled with familiar warmth.
"You've been carrying the end of me every day. Put it down."
Tears blurred her vision.
I don't remember your laugh.
"You don't have to."
Daniel stepped closer. Pine needles made no sound beneath his shoes.
"Pain isn't proof of love."
No.
Mara swallowed hard.
"But love leaves pain when it has nowhere else to go."
His expression saddened.
"I can take the sharp parts.
He said.
The hospital. The phone call. The guilt. All of it."
Guilt opened inside her like a trapdoor. She had not answered Daniel's last call. Mara had been on stage at a publishing event in Midtown, smiling beside a banner with her own name printed too large. His voicemail came at 8:12 p.m. A tired joke about chest pain probably being bad takeout. A promise to call again after urgent care. By 9:30, he was gone. The forest knew. It lifted the memory and held it out shining. Mara almost stepped forward. Then another memory rose, smaller and stronger. Rain on their anniversary in Brooklyn. Daniel laughing because the restaurant lost their reservation. The two of them eating slices of pizza under scaffolding while taxis hissed past. His hand warm at the back of her neck. Cedar soap on his skin. The ridiculous song he hummed when nervous. His shoulder against hers while she wrote the final page of her first bestseller. Those fragments hurt. Because they were real. Mara gripped the hatchet until her fingers cramped.
You don't get to keep him for me,
she said. The figure's smile faded. Behind it, the trees leaned closer. Mara ran. Dead Man's Cut rose steeply between two walls of shale. Roots crossed the path like veins under skin. Twice, she hacked herself free when they looped around her boots. Once, a branch bent low and brushed her ear with a whisper in Elaine's voice, asking why Mara never called back. By late afternoon, she reached the mine. The entrance yawned from the hillside behind a curtain of ivy and rusted wire. Old warning signs lay half-buried in leaves. The air coming out was warm and damp, carrying the smell of mushrooms, wet stone, and opened earth. Mara loaded the flare gun with shaking hands. Daniel, she said, testing the name. This time, his face appeared. Not perfectly. Grief never promised preservation. Yet she saw enough, the chipped tooth, the lifted brow, the kindness around his eyes. Mara stepped into the dark. The mine descended quickly. Her flashlight beam slid over rotted beams and tracks sunk in mud. Pale fungus glowed along the walls, giving the tunnel a sick moonlit shimmer. Far below, something pulsed. At first, Mara thought she was hearing drums. Soon she understood the sound was not made by striking. It was breathing. The deeper she went, the warmer the air became. Sweat ran down her back. Roots threaded through cracks in the stone, thin as hair at first, then thick as wrists. They twitched when the flashlight passed. Whispers gathered. A child laughing. A woman praying. Men singing in a language Mara did not know. Daniel saying,
"Mayor, please."
She bit the inside of her cheek until blood filled her mouth. The pain anchored her. Every step became a choice. Every remembered detail became a weapon. At the first fork, Warren's map guided her left. At the second, she followed a vein of white fungus downward. After that, the tunnel widened, and the breathing grew enormous. Mara reached the root chapel at dusk, though no sunlight could have found that place. The cavern beneath the mountain was vast. Luminous roots twisted through stone like arteries, rising from the floor, vanishing into the ceiling, wrapping around pillars of calcified sap. Blue-white fungal light shimmered across everything. At the center stood a mass the size of a house, half tree and half nerve, its surface swelling and sinking with each slow breath. Bodies were embedded in the walls. Some had been there long enough to become part of the stone. Others remained almost fresh, faces visible behind amber sap. Their expressions were peaceful. Empty. A young man with a backpack strap across his chest. An old woman in a floral blouse. Warrenpike, eyes closed, mouth relaxed, as if all his terror had been rinsed clean. Mara made a sound she did not recognize. The chamber answered with whispers. Thousands of memories flickered through the air. Birthday candles. Wedding songs. Last prayers. A dog barking across a summer yard. Screams softening into sighs. Names spoken by voices that no longer had mouths. The roots were not silent because they had nothing to say. They were full. A lantern glow appeared in the tunnel behind her. Silas Crow entered first, followed by the people of Briar Glen. The diner waitress. The general store clerk. Men from the counter. Women from the porches. Even the boy with the bicycle stood among them, his eyes wide and glassy. Shotguns hung at their sides. None raised a weapon. Silas looked almost sad.
You made it farther than I hoped,
he said. Mara set one gasoline can quietly behind a stone.
Hope?
Yes.
The mayor stepped closer.
Part of me always hopes someone will prove the bargain unnecessary.
Then help me end it.
His smile trembled.
I am Briar Glen. Ending it means ending us.
Maybe that should have happened a long time ago.
Murmurs passed through the townspeople, not angry, merely disturbed. Silas raised a hand, and they quieted.
You think we are monsters because you still have enough sorrow to judge us.
His voice was soft.
My great-great-grandmother buried 4 children in frozen ground before the pact. 4. The mountain offered mercy when heaven would not.
This isn't mercy.
For you, it could be.
Silas moved aside, revealing the pulsing root mass behind him.
The forest can spare you. Daniel's death. Your loneliness. The guilt you polish until it shines. Every sharp thing you have carried can be smoothed away.
Mara's throat tightened. The roots nearest her feet loosened and curled gently around her boots, not holding yet. Silas extended a hand.
You don't have to be brave anymore.
That was the cruelest thing anyone had said to her since Daniel died. Mara wanted it. God help her, she wanted it with a force that nearly hollowed her on the spot. No more waking to absence. No more checking her phone for messages that could never come. No more replaying the missed call. No more trying to write while her life sat in ashes behind her. The chamber warmed around her. Daniel's voice whispered from everywhere.
Rest, Mare.
Mara closed her eyes. For a moment, surrender felt like peace. Then the photograph in her pocket pressed against her ribs. She pulled it out with sap-stained fingers. Daniel laughed beneath the broken umbrella, blurred but alive in the only way the dead remain alive, carried, imperfectly, by the ones who loved them. If she gave up pain, she would not only lose the hospital, the voicemail, and the funeral. She would lose the pizza under scaffolding. The cedar soap. The hand on her shoulder. The laugh she had fought to remember. Every tender ordinary day would go with the sharp ones, because love and grief were not separate rooms. They were the same house after the lights went out. Mara opened her eyes.
You made a mistake,
she said. Silas lowered his hand.
What mistake is that?
You thought pain was the weakness.
She kicked over the gasoline can. Fuel spread across the stone floor, shining in the fungal light. Silas's face changed.
Mara.
She grabbed the second can and flung it toward the central mass. Gasoline splashed across the breathing roots. The cavern reacted at once. Whispers rose into shrieks. Bodies in the walls opened their mouths. Townspeople surged forward. Mara swung the hatchet into a root curling around her leg. Sap sprayed hot across her jeans. She dropped the blade, raised the flare gun, and fired. The flare streaked through the blue-white gloom like a small red sun. For half a heartbeat, everything held still. Then the root chapel ignited. Flame bloomed across the gasoline in a violent sheet, blue at the base, white at the heart. The central mass convulsed. Roots snapped upward, slamming into stone. The cavern filled with a scream made of wood, fungus, and stolen voices. Silas staggered back, eyes wide not with fear, but recognition. Mara fired a second flare into the wall of bodies. Amber sap burst apart. Memories poured loose as light. The townspeople fell to their knees. Some screamed. Others wept. The general store clerk clutched her chest and whispered a name again and again. Perhaps someone she had fed to the mountain. Perhaps someone she had once loved before the forest ate the meaning of love from her. Burning roots thrashed across the cavern. One struck Mara's shoulder and spun her into the ground. Her flashlight flew away. Smoke rolled thick and sweet, filling her lungs. She crawled toward the tunnel, dragging the last gasoline can behind her without knowing why, except that motion meant life. Behind her, Silas stood before the flames. His suit had caught at one sleeve. He did not seem to notice.
My town,
he said. The burning root mass split open with a sound like a house cracking in half. Mara reached the tunnel as fire raced along the ceiling roots, chasing the organism upward through the mountain. Heat roared behind her. Sap ran in molten streams, glowing like glass. She climbed. The mine shook. Beams collapsed. Stone rained from above. At one narrow passage, a burning root blocked the way, writhing like a wounded animal. Mara used the hatchet to pull herself under it, screaming when it seared her back. Voices filled the tunnel. Some begged. Some thanked her. A few only said names, as if names were the last things they could return to the world. Warren's voice came once, close to her ear. Remember him.
Mara sobbed but kept moving.
Above ground, Briar Glen died without burning. Ancient pines shuddered, needles blackening from root to crown. Trunks cracked and collapsed across the road. Fog curled upward from the valley, no longer soft and picturesque, but thick and gray as exhaled ash. In town, people fell where they stood. The diner waitress dropped beside the counter. Men at the general store sank to the floor. A woman on a porch reached toward the church steeple and then forgot why she had lifted her hand. They were not consumed by flame. No dramatic judgment came for them. The force that had sustained them simply let go. Mara knew none of this as she crawled toward the mine entrance. Smoke blinded her. Blood ran down one side of her face. The map was gone. Her pack was gone. Only the photograph remained, clenched in her fist. The entrance appeared ahead, a ragged oval of dim light. She threw herself toward it as the mountain groaned. Cold air struck her face. Mara rolled onto dead leaves just as the mine collapsed behind her. The sound shook the ridge, sent birds exploding from the surviving trees, and rolled across Briar Glen like thunder with a body underneath it. For a long time, Mara could not move. Sunrise found her lying on the hillside. At first, she thought snow had fallen. Then she understood the pale flakes drifting through the air were ash. The valley below looked different. Fog that had clung to Briar Glen since her arrival broke apart beneath clean daylight. Roofs emerged. Roads appeared. The church steeple stood white and ordinary against the morning sky. Behind the cabin, the tree line no longer leaned close. It was only timber now. Burned, broken, silent timber. Mara sat up slowly. Pain returned in layers. Shoulder. Back. Knees. Lungs. Heart. Especially heart. Daniel came back to her all at once, not as a perfect resurrection, but as 1,000 human pieces. His laugh, low at first and then breathless when he tried not to be loud in public. The way he cut apples into uneven slices. His habit of reading the last page of bad novels and claiming it saved time. His hand finding hers in crowds. The memory hurt so badly she bent forward and cried into the ash. Yet beneath the hurt was something fierce and living. It belonged to her. By mid-morning, state police arrived after a truck driver found the road blocked by fallen pines and called it in from the next county. The official story took months to assemble and satisfy almost no one. Illegal storage of chemicals in the old mine. Gas ignition. Structural collapse. Mass trauma among isolated residents. Possible cult activity. Mara gave statements. Many statements. She did not tell them everything. Some truths are too large for forms. Briar Glen became a headline for 3 weeks, then a documentary pitch, then a conspiracy forum, then a cautionary tale locals in neighboring counties told when tourists wandered too far. The Hadley cabin burned 2 days after Mara left. Investigators blamed embers from the mine fire carried underground through dry roots. Mara believed that, mostly. 1 year later, a line wrapped around a Manhattan bookstore. Rain streaked the windows. Folding chairs filled every aisle. Readers stood shoulder to shoulder near the back, holding hard covers with black pine silhouettes across the jacket. Mara Ellison sat at a small table under warm lights, a glass of water beside her. Her new novel was called The Pines Remember. No one in the audience knew that a photograph of Daniel rested inside her personal copy, tucked between the title page and the dedication. The dedication was simple. For Daniel, who was worth remembering. Mara looked at the crowd and felt the old nerves flutter. Before Briar Glen, she had believed audiences wanted certainty from writers. Answers. Control. A clean arrangement of darkness. Now she understood stories did not save people by making pain disappear. They saved what pain meant. She opened the book. Her voice, when it came, was steady. The dead do not leave us all at once. Mara read. They remain in the rooms we enter carefully, in the songs we avoid, in the ordinary mornings that ask us to keep living. Grief is not a haunting. It is love with nowhere easy to go. The room was silent. Outside, rain tapped lightly against the glass. For an instant, Mara heard another tapping beneath it, old and patient, from some impossible distance. She paused. Then she turned the page and continued. Because the forest was gone. Because Daniel was gone. Because memory, painful and imperfect, was still a kind of victory. Mara read until the rain stopped, and when the clouds moved past Manhattan, clean light touched the window. Somewhere far beneath the city, tree roots slept harmlessly in the dark. Inside the bookstore, surrounded by strangers listening closely, Mara carried her sorrow without surrendering it. The missing still hurt. The love remained. So did the story.